Okay, welcome to High Cheese with Darren Maloney. Today is Monday, March 28th, 2022. All right, let's move quickly to Ukraine. I'll give you an update and then we'll go on to some other things. Right now, if you remember in my last episode, we had provided Ukraine with over $8 billion in defense appropriations between what we have already given to them plus what the 2022 budget is giving Ukraine for defense. And apparently that's not good enough for President Zelensky. He had called the West cowards. And he's kind of, I mentioned this last episode, he's kind of run thin with me at the very least. I'm sure possibly other Americans too. But, here we are. We're giving him as much support as we can without actually putting troops on the ground or putting World War III at risk. And he's biting the hand that feeds it. He's calling us cowards now. And it says here, this is from The Hill. It's an article. It says, Ukrainian President Zelensky accused the West of cowardice Sunday, while another top official said Russia is trying to split the nation in two, like North and South Korea. Zelensky made an exasperated plea for fighter jets and tanks to help defend his country from Russia invading troops. Russia now says its main focus is on taking control of the eastern Donbas region, an apparent pullback from its earlier, more expansive goals, but one which is raising fears of a divided Ukraine. Well, you shouldn't be fearful on this. Putin and Russia have always said this is what they wanted going into the war. So this shouldn't be a surprise to anyone. It says, speaking after U.S. President Joe Biden made in a lacerating speech that Russian President Putin should not stay in power, words the White House immediately sought to downplay, and I'll get into that later. Zelensky lashed out at the West's ping-pong about who and how should hand over jets and other weapons while Russian missiles attacked and killed and trapped civilians. I've talked to the defenders of Mariupol today. I'm in constant contact with them. The determination, heroism, and firmness are astonishing, Zelensky said in a video address, referring to the besieged southern city that has suffered some of the war's greatest deprivations and horrors. If only those who have been thinking for 31 days on how to hand over dozens of jets and tanks had 1% of their courage. Now, before we go further, I just want to make a clarification from my previous episode. I had mentioned that Zelensky was asking for 1% of the defense budgets of each member of NATO. And I did a thumbnail calculation and said that would probably come to about $7 billion. And I think what he's asking for is 1% of our aircrafts, jets, and tanks. And I just did a thumbnail calculation, and that also came to about $7 billion. So I just wanted to clear that. It's a minor thing, but it bothers me. I like to be perfect for you guys. So anyway, that's where we are with that. Apparently it's not enough, and I don't know, who knows what's going to be enough for Zelensky other than us fighting in World War III or getting into a nuclear war. And let's roll that into Zelensky's ground rules for meeting for peace, for having another peace meeting. And apparently, and this is from the Canada Express, and it says here, Ukrainian President Zelensky on Sunday revealed some of his country's ground rules for a peace deal with Russia. But Russian officials decided to censor the interview, possibly because Zelensky also said that if the President Putin claimed the invasion was aimed at denazifying Ukraine, peace talks with Russia involved no discussion of Ukraine's alleged Nazism. Now, I don't understand this with the media. What is this pushback on Ukraine not having Nazis? It's already been addressed and acknowledged that Ukraine has a Nazi problem. They have Nazis. Now, to make a long story short, those Nazis, the neo-Nazi battalion, the Azov battalion, is defending Mariupol. And I mentioned this in my last episode. So it's acknowledged that Nazis are there. So I don't understand what this whole pushback is from the media that Nazis don't exist in Ukraine. Is it because Putin said it? I don't know. They want to present Ukraine as some type of pristine country, which we all know that it's not true. It says here, Zelensky spoke to Russian media, saying the country was willing to guarantee Ukraine's neutrality and nuclear-free status, but that its representatives would not sign any agreement until Russian troops withdraw from the country. Ukraine president also said that the whole process hinges on him meeting Putin personally and on the Ukrainian people agreeing to a referendum to change the constitution, a referendum that cannot take place until Russian troops are gone. We need to have agreements with President Putin, Zelensky said. The guarantors will not sign anything unless the troops are withdrawn. A personal meeting would be sufficient to start the process of troop withdrawal. The troops must be withdrawn. Ratifications in the parliament, a referendum in several months, and only then amendments to the Constitution, he explained. A referendum is necessary because only the people can decide that there can be such a status and such guarantors, argued Zelensky. The referendum will take place in a few months, and the amendments to the Constitution will take at least a year, according to our current legislation. Well, that's just not reality. So here's what Zelensky's asking. We're not going to do anything as far as acknowledging Donbass and acknowledging neutrality until they have a referendum? And it's going to take a year? So Zelensky wants withdrawal of the Russian troops. So all the gains that the Russian troops have made, he wants them to give them back to Ukraine, go home. Ukraine will have a referendum, and then we'll have our neutrality, and then you can have the Donbass region. That's just not realistic. Putin's not going to go for that. And no one in their right mind would go for that at this point. This is unrealistic expectations that Zelensky has. Is he really based in reality at this time? Is his thought process really based in reality? He's lashing out at the hand that feeds him, which is the West. They've given him a ton of money. He's now asking for things in negotiation that just are not realistic. So I don't know what his game plan is. What I do understand of what he's trying to do, and I'm not sure it's from this article, is that he's going to try to spin a positive settlement. He's going to have to put the best spin that he has on any settlement with Russia. So be on the lookout for that. And again, I think I said in the episode, he has to come to the realization that he's got to have some kind of settlement that may not be in his own personal self-interest. Now, I think they have an election in 2024. He could lose that election as a result of this war. Once people sit down and start thinking about, hey, look, this guy misread Russia, he misread the West. He got us pummeled. They may take that out in the polls. So we shall see. Look, I'm hopeful for some kind of resolution to this. And hopefully it comes sooner than later. Mariupol. Neo-Nazi battalion that's defending Mariupol may wind up just getting wiped out. Now, I heard some people say that, oh, this is going to be the Ukrainians' version of the Alamo. Now, I don't think you want to equate this. I don't think you want to equate a bunch of neo-Nazi soldiers to Davy Crockett and the people that defended the Alamo. I don't think you want to do that. So, all right, the next thing I want to do is I want to switch to, Biden continues his buffoonery. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to switch you to, it's a global news clip, and it kind of just highlights what Biden has done with this speech about Putin. So let me play this clip, and then we'll come back and discuss.
Now back in Washington, the White House is clarifying an off-the-cuff remark U.S. President Joe Biden made during a speech in Poland, seeming to suggest it was time for the Russians to force President Vladimir Putin out.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
The comment seemed to be a direct call for regime change in Russia.
Oh boy, this is like deja vu all over again. Remember last week when Biden said that sanctions are not a deterrent? Sanctions are not a deterrent. And then his administration had to come out a couple of days later or several hours later and say, no, sanctions are a deterrent. Well, the clip I'm going to play, they're doing the same thing. They're walking back what Biden said. So this is just continued chaos and a continued embarrassment for the United States to have Biden as president and his administration too. So let me just play this clip and then we'll come back.
White House officials were quick to clear up any confusion.
We do not have a strategy of regime change in Russia or anywhere else for that matter. It's up to the people of the country in question. It's up to the Russian people.
Others believe Putin won't forget what Biden said.
It will play on his mind, and it could complicate matters going down the road.
Now, that comment was so bad that French President Macron will call Putin to try to smooth things out. Because you think about it, in the middle of negotiations for peace, Biden says this. He's totally oblivious to any bigger picture. Now, what he did say is, in my last episode, I had read an op-ed from Neil Ferguson. And Ferguson did say that this is the behind-the-scenes policy of the United States right now, is to get rid of Putin. He says it's not going to work. And I surmise that they did talk about this behind the scenes in a meeting with Biden and his staff. And Biden is so weak-minded, he just blurted this out. He didn't realize that, well, something like this, to say something like this is for a private conversation, not a public conversation. Because essentially when you say something like this, you want to go to war. And Russia could easily view this as an aggressive action on its country. So Russia came out with a statement and said this really seriously damages any relations with Russia in the future. But again, it's just an embarrassment for this country to have this guy and this administration in charge. Now, with this said, I want to roll this into an NBC News poll that came out on Sunday. And let me just read a little bit of it. And now, when I read you these numbers, these are their pollsters. When I read a poll coming out from NBC News or the mainstream media, even Fox, I always take it with a grain of salt because I know pollsters aren't legitimate anymore. Maybe there's one or two pollsters out there, Trafalgar, Rasmussen, McLaughlin. Other than that, I can't think of any legitimate pollster that isn't working for an agenda. So anyway, make a long story short, this NBC poll came out and it said that Biden is down to a 40% approval rating. It's the lowest of his presidency. Now, look at some of the crosstabs here on this. 71% have some or very little confidence in Biden's ability to respond to the Ukraine situation. 82% said they are concerned that we'll get into a nuclear war. 82% of Americans are concerned about this. And it's a direct link to Biden's leadership on this. Overall in foreign policy, not just Ukraine, he's got a 51% disapproval rating. Now on the economy, 63% disapprove of Biden's handling of the economy. 38% blame Biden for inflation. I actually think it's higher than that, but 38% of people blame Biden for inflation. Now, overall, Biden is down 2% among African Americans on the approval rating. So he went from 64% down to 62%. Now, this is after he nominated a African American woman for the Supreme Court. It would have been actually lower if there was not an African American woman that was nominated for the Supreme Court. So I expect those numbers to continue to go down for Biden with the African American community. He's down 7% among women. He went from 51% to 44% approval. And then among independent voters. Now, independent voters are key for the next presidential election. He's down 4% with independent voters. He went from 36% approval down to 32% approval. So let that sink in. And again, we are in very dangerous times right now for this country. And again, things will get better. The tide will turn come November when the Republicans take over the House. And here's a prediction of mine. If the Republicans take over, which I expect that they will, and Biden is impeached, my prediction is that there will be some Democrats that will vote for his impeachment. And then in the Senate, there will be some Democrats that will vote to convict Biden. That's my prediction. Remember this day right here. All right, let's take a break and then we'll come back. Okay, welcome back. So Donald Trump filed a lawsuit, a RICO lawsuit, against Hillary Clinton and company. And that was filed last week, and I just thought it was really interesting. He filed it using the RICO Act. And let me just tell you a little bit about the RICO Act. It's an acronym for Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organization Act. It's commonly referred to as the RICO Act or simply RICO. It's a United States federal law that provides for extended criminal penalties and a civil cause of action for acts performed as part of an ongoing criminal organization. Now, the RICO Act was used quite a bit to put a lot of mafiosos in jail. And they're using this against the Clinton mafioso group. And the interesting thing is that I do find a number of names on this that are interesting. So let me just read you a quick article, summary of what's going on. It says former President Donald Trump on Thursday filed a $24 million federal lawsuit, and this is from the New York Post, alleging that Hillary Clinton and the DNC launched a wide-ranging, unthinkable plot in 2016 to smear him and his campaign as colluding with Russian officials. In the suit, filed in the Southern District of Florida, Trump claims that the goal was to fabricate a scandal in an effort to cripple his bid for the presidency. Acting in concert, the defendants maliciously conspired to weave a false narrative that their Republican opponent, Donald J. Trump, was colluding with a hostile foreign sovereignty. The 45th president alleges that the scheme was concocted by Clinton, the Democratic presidential nominee, and others who falsified evidence, deceived law enforcement, and exploited access to highly sensitive data sources, and was so outrageous, subversive, and incendiary that even the events of Watergate pale in comparison. Look who we got here. Along with Hillary, we've got the DNC, the lawsuit Perkins Coie, Michael Sussman, who's already on the target list of John Durham, Mark Elias. Mark Elias is a big-time lawyer that works behind the scenes for the DNC. Debbie Wasserman Schultz, Charles Dolan Jr., Jake Sullivan, Jake Sullivan. You know Jake Sullivan, whose fingerprints are all over Ukraine and every other international problem we've got. John Podesta, Robert Mook, Glenn Simpson, Rodney Jaffe, or the tech executive, Lisa Page, Kevin Kleinsmith, who had pleaded guilty already under John Durham's investigation, Peter Strzok, Andrew McCabe. So this is going to be interesting. It's a little payback time. Because a wonderful game the Democrats love to play is they love to throw these lawsuits at innocent people. And again, I'm not implying that these people are innocent. I'm implying that these people are guilty. To make them expend money fighting the government. And now Trump's going to do this. Now, the funny thing with RICO is RICO has a civil clause in it. So they're being sued under the RICO Act, but from a civil portion of the law. And this could turn into a criminal investigation. And it depends what comes out during depositions and discovery. So we shall see. I kind of like what's going on here. And I hope you do too. Okay, and I'm going to play you a quick clip from Trump's rally in Georgia on Saturday where he gloats over the lawsuit. So let me just play it and then we'll come back.
I'm suing for millions of dollars in damages against crooked Hillary Clinton, James Comey, Andrew McCabe. The two lovers, remember the lovers, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
Okay, I just want to spend a couple of minutes with the NBA and Enes Kanter. Enes Kanter is a good basketball player, very good basketball player. And because he spoke out against China's position with slave labor, with the Uyghurs, he's out of a job. I think it was earlier in February, mid-February, he was traded from the Boston Celtics to the Houston Rockets. And I guess a day later, he was released. He was the hot potato in the NBA. And it was all about him speaking out against the Uyghur. And Kanter pointed out the hypocrisy of the players in the NBA, as well as the NBA and the owners, and Adam Silver, the commissioner. All of these NBA players with Black Lives Matter, taking a knee, but why did they totally ignore the fact that there's slavery going on today? No one spoke up about this except for Kanter. Now, you have to understand that the NBA has a huge business relationship with China. China broadcasts many NBA games. You got one of the former stars of the NBA, Yao Ming, is Chinese. Chinese is a big potential market for the NBA. And it's all about making money. So the NBA has plans on not only broadcasting NBA games, selling merchandise to the Chinese people, but I think there's designs to actually put teams out there. And that's what it's all about with the NBA and Adam Silver and the owners. It's about the money. They want to make money. Now, for the players, it's also about making money too. Because the more money that the owners can make, the more money that the players can ask for. Now, the other thing too is that a lot of these players have contracts with Nike. Now, Nike uses slave labor to make their sneakers, and they don't want to criticize that. And on several occasions, the Chinese government read the Riot Act to the NBA because they didn't like some of the comments that were coming out of the NBA, particularly Kanter. And it's shameful. I think there was a GM, ironically, I think it was with the Houston Rockets, I may be mistaken, but the GM that spoke up against China, and he was forced out. When you pull back the curtain, you have to understand any of the NBA players that are out there claiming to be virtuous, they're hypocrites. Look at LeBron James. Well, he's the first to talk about Black Lives Matter. He's the first one to talk about how how tough it is to be an African American in this country while he's making millions and millions of dollars. I don't want to hear from LeBron James about how America's been tough on African American. I want to hear from the damn janitor that got bumped out of a job because it was African American. And you're just full of it, LeBron. Speak out about China. And the NBA is the same way. Apparently Adam Silver had made a veiled threat to Kanter before he was released, or at some point before he was released. Look, it's all about money for these people. And that's what it's all about. And I think it was Mark Cuban, the owner of the Mavericks, Dallas Mavericks. When push came to shove, he goes, it's just a business. It's a business decision. You know, we'll put on these virtuous robes when we can make money off of it. But if we can't make money off of it, we don't care. And let me just play you a quick clip from a comment months ago from an owner of an NBA team. And we'll get right back.
His China policy, the fact that he came out with a statement on the Uyghurs, I thought was very strong.
Nobody cares about what's happening to the Uyghurs, okay? You bring it up because you really care, and I think that's nice that you care. The rest of us don't care. I'm just telling you a very hard...
Wait, you're saying you personally don't care?
I'm telling you a very hard, ugly truth, okay? Of all the things that I care about, yes, it is below my line. Okay? Of all the things that I care about, it is below my line.
And that was Chamath Palihapitiya. He's a co-owner of the Golden State Warriors in the NBA. And that's what he feels about the Uyghurs in China. Forced labor, genocide. But he doesn't care. But he cares whether his players take a knee, because he can make money off of that. And he can continue to make money off of staying silent when he has a business partner in China. So just remember that next time you go to an NBA game or you cheer these guys on. They're all hypocrites. And they're hypocrites when it comes to Black Lives Matter. So just remember that. And I want to just switch quickly to a real battle that's going on across the country on the grassroots level. And it's remarkable. And it has to do with the Board of Educations and how many pro-family, pro-Trump, MAGA candidates are winning and voicing their opinions and taking over their school boards and taking over the education of their children. And I think it was Meet the Press or NBC did a story on the Brevard County school system in Florida. And I guess they were trying to contrast the different sides. And really, I mean, this takeover of the boards of education throughout the country by pro-family people has been remarkable. And it's gotten to the point where you've got the mainstream media covering it. Now, they're trying to put the pro-family people in a bad light. They're not convincing doing it. I just wanted to play a couple of clips from this story. And one of the things that really jumped out was an interview with Misty Belford. She's the chairperson of the Board of Education down in Brevard County. And I just want to play this clip, and then we'll get back and discuss, because I think it really hits at the crux of what the problem is with our educational system over the past 25 years. All right, let me just play it, and then we'll get back and discuss.
Chairwoman Misty Belford opens every meeting asking people to behave. Belford has served on the board for 8 years. Belford is worried about the impact on teachers and administrators.
I'm blessed to be serving a group of 9,000 people that wake up every single day.
Well, thank you, Misty. Now, let me just preface my next comments with Brevard County has a population of 606,000 people, and there's about 70,000 students in the system. But Misty Belford has been so honored to serve the 9,000 employees in the school system. Not the students, not the parents, but the employees of the school system. And this is part of the problem. These elected officials do not have any sense of responsibility to you as a parent, to you as a taxpayer, and to you as a voter. It's all about gaining their own control in their own system. And this has been the problem of our educational system over the past 25 years. It's been run and operated by elected officials, bureaucrats, and these NGOs that are in it only for their own power. And look, I've spent my career dealing with members of Board of Educations and bureaucrats, and quite frankly, I find them a really odd group. I found it problematic. This odd group has been in control of the educations of our children, and I'm glad to see that there's been pushback now by the parents, and it's a good thing. So the leftists have organized in Brevard, and they started their own organization. And let me just play you a clip, and then we'll come back and discuss this. This one is interesting.
Dad of three, Jabari Hosey, built a grassroots group on the left called Families for Safe Schools. They've argued for LGBTQ rights, against changing the way race is taught, and against removing books from libraries.
We have policies and procedures in place when there's content that's deemed inappropriate and goes through a process through our school district. What they're asking for is parents do that for them. And we feel like it's very dangerous.
So, it's very dangerous when parents are involved with their children's education. And this is what the left is all about. Fundamentally, they want to destroy the American family. They want to control your kids. And this is the battle line. The battle line is whether parents will have a say in their kids' education and their kids' upbringing. And fortunately, I think the left is on the wrong side of history. And the battle lines can't be clearer. This is the clear battle line right here. Okay, let's turn to business. Right now, the bond market could be reflecting a recession. Right now, let me just turn to a quick article from CNBC. It says here, the bond market is flashing a warning sign. A recession may be coming. And it says here, an inverted yield curve in the bond market is a distortion that has occurred before U.S. recessions. Essentially what that means is when the yield on your 2-year bond is greater than the yield on your 10-year bond. That means that you're looking at a recession. For example, under normal circumstances, your yield curve should be sloping upward, and that shows that that's a normal economy working. However, if you're looking at a possible recession, the yields on the longer duration bonds like the 10-year, 20-year, 30-year may be lower than your more current yields on bonds like the 2-year, 3-year, 5-year. Generally, what Wall Street looks at is the difference between the 2-year and the 10-year. And right now, the yields are relatively normal, which means that the yield on the 2-year is less than the yield on the 10-year bond. But right now, we've got the yield, I think, on the 3-year bond is greater than the yield on the 10-year bond. So, for example, I'm looking right now, the yield on the 3-year bond is 2.589%, while the yield on the 10-year bond is 2.466%. So again, under normal circumstances, the yield on the longer-term bonds would be higher, and that's not the case right now. And we shall see. And this leads me to the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta's GDP Now website. And what they do is they give us an ongoing estimate of what the first quarter GDP is going to be like. And right now, their estimate is 0.9%. And their latest estimate is from March 24th. So, that's not a good indicator at all. So, again, could we be headed toward a stagflation environment? We certainly could be. So we shall see. The next thing I wanted to talk about is Russia. Russia was asking all the Western countries to pay for their gas and oil in rubles. So what they want to do is they just want to create more demand for rubles, which will pump up the price of the ruble because of supply and demand. So they're looking to do that. We'll see what happens. There could be some pushback because a lot of the contracts are not written in ruble conversion. So we shall see what happens with this. The alternate end around, using the yuan as an intermediary currency. But it would be more helpful to the ruble if you could have the purchase of oil and gas pay for them in rubles. It'll be a slight benefit to the ruble. So we shall see. I think Germany said they weren't going to do it. I'm not sure if there's any other members of the EU that are going to do it, but we shall see what happens. The other thing I wanted to do is I wanted to talk about, it says here, and this is again an article from CNBC, it says regulators are worried that retail traders are getting in over their head. It says FINRA, which is the Financial Industry Regulatory Authority, which is the regulator of all the brokerage firms and exchanges in the U.S., recently released a regulatory notice to its members, reminding them of the risks of the complex products and the legal obligations they have in making sure their investors are in products that are suitable for them. Now, this is geared for the Robinhood traders, that the individuals that trade on Robinhood, the individuals that Ameritrade. FINRA thinks you're stupid. And FINRA thinks that you need help and you can't handle your own investments. Or they're just trying to crush you, so only the big boys can trade. I don't know yet, but we'll find out. Now, the interesting thing, ironically, a report came out, and it says this new report finds that almost 80% of active fund managers are falling behind the major indexes. So all of these so-called experts that know how to trade, how to make money for their clients, and charge higher fees, 80% of them are falling behind the major indexes. So you would be better off just investing in the S&P or the Dow instead of these fund managers. So FINRA, why are you quiet on these guys? You want to crack down on the Robinhood investors, but you're not looking at these guys? Maybe these guys need more help than Robinhood investors do. So we shall see. All right, let's go to the stocks. So again, today is Monday, March 28th, 2022. Dow finished up 0.27% to 34,955.89. For the year, the Dow is down 3.8%. The S&P was up 0.71% to $4,575.52. For the year, the S&P is down 4%. NASDAQ was up 1.31% today to 14,354.9. For the year, it's down 8.25%. Oil was down 7% to $105.96. Apparently, there's an issue with they're concerned about demand for oil because they're looking at a possible lockdown in Shanghai, which is a huge city in China, apparently for COVID purposes. Gold was down 1.2% to $1,933.12 an ounce, and silver is trading at $25.07. Crypto, Bitcoin, right now is trading at $47,514.04. Ethereum's trading right now at $3,387.60, and XRP is trading at 88 cents. On the earnings calendar, again, it's another light week. We've got on Tuesday, March 29th, we've got the Chinese Construction Bank, Micron Tech, Lululemon, and McCormick. On Wednesday, the 30th, we've got Paychex, Five Below, and Braze Inc. On Thursday, we've got Walgreens, BlackBerry, Mag Silver, and NRX Pharmaceuticals. And then Friday, we have Newegg, Biofitis, and Unicommon International. Let's go to the calendar. And it's going to be a big week this week on what we have in the calendar. Let's see, on Tuesday, we have the Case-Shiller National Price Index year on year. We have the FHFA National House Price Index year on year. We have consumer confidence. We have job openings. We have job quits. And then on Wednesday, March 30th, we have the ADP employment report. We have GDP revision. We have gross domestic income. Then we have corporate profits year on year. And then on Thursday, we have initial jobless claims, continuing jobless claims, nominal personal income, nominal consumer spending, PCE price index, core PCE, and these two are important to the Fed, PCE price index year over year, core PCE price index year over year, real disposable income, real consumer spending, and the Chicago Purchasing Managers Index. Then on Friday, we have non-farm payrolls, unemployment rate, hourly average earnings, labor force participation rate. The Fed President Charles Evans will speak. We have the market manufacturing PMI. We have the ISM manufacturing index, construction spending, and motor vehicle sales. So there's a lot on the calendar to look out for this week. So with that said, you have a good week, and I shall see you on Saturday. Thanks for listening.